today, episode 124
Yes.
of Waterbox Live. If you guys haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell.
Get aggressive with it.
Yes.
Share if you're on Facebook. We're going to talk about good choices for cleanup crew in your reef tank. Some of the top choices, snails, crabs, shrimp, all of that good stuff. But we are also giving away 2 Waterbox shirts today. We took them off the thing, didn't put it back up. 2 shirts, and one Facebook, one YouTube. And of course, you've got to be active in the comments, ask questions. We'll be doing Q&A, all Waterbox, inverts, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll spend a lot of time on that, so make sure you drop them in there. Make some friends, have some conversation. It is the currency to win a shirt.
Yes, we give away something every episode, and again, we encourage you guys, please post your questions below, whether it's about what we're talking about today or if it's about Waterbox in general. We'll try to answer as many as we can.
Yep. So we've formatted the live to be a little bit more interactive with you guys, more casual talking about topics, and spending more time getting to questions because we could never hit that many before.
Right.
So we'll spend a lot more time doing that. But we also have something going on that is awesome.
Yes, so if you guys didn't know, we're running a Waterbox truck now. So we're doing some, as close to white glove as it gets with a Waterbox truck.
She's a beauty.
Yes, very much so in the southeast. So we got a little thing going on. You want to tell them about?
Yep. So it's going to be spot the Waterbox truck here. So if you see the spot, if you see the truck out and about on the road, you're getting a delivery, whatever the case may be, you will want to take a picture and then hashtag it and have a shirt. You can get some swag.
Yeah, so free swag if you spot the Waterbox truck. Keep an eye out for it. It's really not hard to miss. It's really big Waterbox. There's a freshwater side, there's a saltwater side.
And it's traveling all throughout the southeast, like up to the Carolinas, you know, Georgia, all throughout Florida. So if you see it, if you're getting delivery, whatever the case may be, and you spot it, definitely get in on that and you'll get some free Waterbox swag. We want to see it in the wild.
Right.
It just recently made a delivery here the other day for the Infinia.
Yes, so if you guys don't know, the Infinias have arrived. They're probably starting to ship.
Yeah, so some are already arriving to people depending on the size. And, you know, we've got more incoming. You're going to see our Infinia really, really soon. Yeah. And we're super excited about that build because we've been waiting quite a while to see this thing. So keep an eye for that. And then, of course, you spot the truck, get on and tag it.
Yeah. So far, people are loving getting that delivery with the Waterbox truck.
Yes,
so
it's so pretty.
If it works out, we'll hope to have it, you know, expand throughout the country if we can. So
awesome.
Be good.
And today we're talking about inverts for your reef tank. Kind of compiled like our favorite list. There is a video on YouTube you can check out. The link is in the description where we've did a list of inverts on there, so you can check out a little bit more detailed information. But I guess let's talk about some snails.
Yeah.
You know, those are your utility workers for sure.
I do want to say, don't underestimate the importance of a cleanup crew right out of the gate. When I first started in the hobby, I did underestimate it, and I didn't realize until probably much later than I should have how important they are in keeping the system clean.
Yeah, so things like your snails and crabs, I mean, all day, basically all night. I don't think inverts really sleep that much. They're always working, cleaning up fish waste, algae, that kind of stuff. And, you know, say your tank's doing really good, you got a cleanup crew, the numbers start to dwindle, you'll notice. Because the algae are going to come back, your sand's going to get dirtier, you know, all that stuff. So they're extremely important, even though you don't see everything that they're doing. They're staying very on top of a lot of your cleanup crew. So I think snails are probably the #1 thing you need.
For sure.
And my ultimate favorite is the Trocus snail.
Gary is a Trocus.
Gary is a Trocus snail. I think that these guys, for like the pros of them, is they're very efficient cleaners. They can right themselves if they fall over, which is a big deal. Because a lot of snails, if they fall over, they're just stranded if you don't help them. And that's when crabs get to them. That's when your fish pick at them. That's when they can kind of just starve off and die. So these guys are extremely good cleaners, and they can also flip themselves over really well.
Yeah, and does ORA, they aquaculture these, right? So they breed them?
So you can get them aquacultured. I'd say the only con to Trocus is that they're probably one of your more expensive snails over Astrias and turbos and stuff like that. They're going to cost you a few bucks more, but I guarantee you they're going to outlive any Astria you ever put into your tank, and they're going to do a lot more work.
So you kind of get what you pay for with that.
Yes, it is for sure. And the fact that they can't just fall behind a rock and you don't know it, and then that's where they go to die, you know, that's a real big benefit as well.
Yeah, and again, I want to encourage you guys, if you have any questions about the inverts we're talking about, or Waterbox or anything, put them below. We'll do a Q&A here a little bit later.
Absolutely. Looking forward to some questions. As far as I think for the ones that clean up the most amount of algae, I'd go turbo snails.
Yeah.
So these guys, especially if you have hair algae, these guys are beasts when it comes to cleaning up. And they can get really big too. So zebra turbos get huge, regular turbos still get pretty big. Along with their huge size is a big old clunky shell that tends to knock things off of rock.
They're like a bulldozer.
They are a bulldozer. They're an algae-eating bulldozer. And if they fall, generally they are not righting themselves, and they're not evolved much, like at all. But they're amazing cleaners. Now, I wouldn't go put them in a tiny tank, but for medium to larger tanks, they're really good if you have a decent amount of algae.
Yeah,
If the tank's really clean, they're going to starve off.
Yeah, make sure that your corals are affixed well enough, because they will bulldoze them and knock them off.
They will. I mean, if you feel one as they get bigger, they are heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and then they go upside down. There's no way their little tiny little body can ever flip that big shell. So you're going to have to, as soon as you see if they flip, get them back over. Yeah. They don't live long upside down for.
No.
I've always talked about this throughout the years of like how in nature they have not evolved to flip themselves over. I'm just imagining on the reefs, like there's these turbos and there's just tons of them upside down, like just getting eaten. I'm like,
I'm trying to imagine why maybe they haven't, and maybe it's because the second they fall over, they're just
food
eaten
source,
alive.
I guess.
The second they expose themselves, the fish are just like, see ya.
It's true. I've always wondered, like, if on the reefs there's just a lot of upside down turbo snails. I don't know, but that's my own weird stuff. Yeah, we're gonna go scuba diving and look for turbos upside down. Anyway, that went off there.
Alrighty, we're spiraling. Great. Cerith.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, Ceriths are good. They stay small. And I like them a lot for nanos or bigger tanks because they'll go on the glass, they'll go on the sand, and they'll go on the rock.
Yeah.
They'll eat little bits of algae, they keep your sand stirred up. You know, they're very multifunctional, and they can go in nanos up to big tanks. Like small to big, we've got Cerith in all of ours. Mm-hmm. So they're really good little busy bees.
Yeah.
And then get in little smaller areas that some of your bigger snails can't get in. But the fact that they actually touch a little bit of everything in your tank is a pretty big benefit.
Right, for sure.
A lot of times you don't see them too much, but they're in there just doing their thing. And they're pretty inexpensive too.
Yeah.
Which is good. So throw in a handful of those along with your other cleanup crew, and they'll be really useful in your tank. And especially for nanos, you can't have big turbos or a lot of trochus and stuff in there if it's small tanks. So these are a really good option for that.
Cool.
Then probably one of our favorite sand snails.
Yes, the Nassarius.
Yes, little
These
zombies.
are the zombies.
They are. Yeah, so these guys are gonna live in the sand. I mean, they randomly will come up and go on the rock or glass, but they're not really cleaning. I think they're just adventuring. But for the most part, they're in the sand. You see little snorkels. For the most part, you will not see a single piece of them. Mm-hmm. And they're just doing their thing. They keep your sand stirred up and oxygenated. And then when they sense food or some kind of waste, they come out there with a little snorkel and just like, at pretty super speeds for a snail, come like flying out of the sand bed like little zombies coming to actually eat. They'll eat fish food, fish waste, and then otherwise they're just kind of sifting up the sand and keeping it clean.
It's kind of it's actually kind of fun to do that. Like, you know, there's no movement. You don't see anything in the sand. The second you drop food in, you just see the snorkels come up out of the sand.
And then they just come zooming out of the sand, like going for it. Like if you have a handful of them in a tank, it's so cool because they'll pretty much all come out at the same time. It's the rise of the zombie snails. Like it really is. So they're utility workers, but they're also a lot of fun.
Yeah. Last one's Conchs.
Yes.
We have a few in the Reef LX.
Yeah,
right?
so in medium to larger tanks are great. I wouldn't go put one in a nano necessarily because they do cover a lot of ground. Mm-hmm. And they get like 4 inches or something like that. So they get pretty good size. And they're just busy keeping your sand stirred up. Yeah. So you do not put them in a tiny tank. Keep them in larger ones. And they're going to actually come out on top of the surface. Sometimes they'll be buried all the way. Sometimes they're like half buried. You can usually locate them, but they kind of have this weird kind of chucking themselves motion as they move along. And these little eyeballs.
They look pretty
They're pretty cute for a snail. But yeah, they're really good sand cleaners just because of their size. They're a great choice for, you know, medium to bigger tanks. And a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Inverts are really awesome. Like, you know, I don't know if necessarily have a lot of personality, but they're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
because they're very busy. You know, snails are pretty unique in their looks, and they all have little eyeballs and stuff like that going around. And if you ever see like on the side of the glass, like a good big turbo or big trochus, like actually like eating and grasping along the glass surface, it's really neat to kind of see that. And then the little spirally trail that they make if you have an algae on your glass is really neat. So very important workers. Snails. I think they're probably the most functional of all the groups of inverts and probably the most necessary in a tank for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I see a lot of good questions rolling in. Again, we encourage you guys, put your questions below. We've kind of switched up the format a little bit here for Waterbox Live, so we're not actually doing like the builds that you've seen in the past. We're saving that for a recorded video this year. So you'll see a lot of really cool, which we're working on a ton of them right now.
Yeah, we got a lot in the works right now. You're gonna start seeing them dropping on the YouTube channel, but I mean, we've got how-tos, informatives, we're gonna have builds, but all coming onto the YouTube channel. Yeah,
we got Freshwater, we have, there's gonna be a lot of really cool stuff, but as always, we're here with you every week, Wednesday, right now at 12 p.m. Could be a different time, we're not sure, it's just up in the air.
Yeah, so. We kind of think we're just gonna throw a dart at a board with a time on it, and we'll just start kind of changing it up.
Yeah, we'll see.
So we'll definitely get to some questions as we kind of go through as well. So hermit crabs are good too.
Yep.
They kind of serve a different purpose. They're just picking, you know, in little crevices of the rock. They're going to eat fish food. They're going to eat some fish waste. They're going to pick at algae. But they get in like all those, live rock has tons of little tiny nooks and crannies that the snails kind of just zoom over. So these guys are taking their little itty bitty claws, going in there and cleaning it up. For hermits, you know, the red leg and blue legs are probably your most common.
Yeah.
You know, they're known to kind of pick hair algae, cyano, that kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure these guys never stop moving.
Never. Not unless you scare them.
Yeah, and then they just tuck into their shell and hide out for a little bit and come back. These are the guys, though, that if you've got a snail upside down, they're probably going to go have a snack. You know, they're opportunistic in that sense. They're not aggressive necessarily. But, you know, they will go along your sandbed. They go on your rock. They kind of go everywhere. And they need shells.
Yeah.
So
they will take them.
Yeah. Hermit crabs don't grow a shell along with them. That's just their house. So you need to have other size shells in there because they will fight each other or take a snail for a shell. So always, you know, if you have a snail that, say, died off, as long as it's not like rotting, leave the shell in there for something to move into. You can ask your local store for some extra shells in different sizes just to kind of sprinkle around because it keeps them a little bit more calm. They got little houses to move into and upgrade to.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Emerald crabs.
These guys are good.
Yeah.
They are really well known for eating bubble algae. And it's one of the only inverts that actually eats bubble algae. They have like little specialized pinchers, and they actually will do a really good job at keeping your tank clean of them if you have a problem with them. But they also pick at hair algae. They can get big, and they can be a little bit aggressive.
Semi-aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, in a small tank, only put them in if you really need them for a purpose. As they get bigger, you may want to consider removing them. The males, when they get big, have massive claws.
Yeah.
And not that they're particularly aggressive, but they're opportunistic. Not to say people haven't had a tiny, shiny shrimp or, you know, a tiny fish possibly succumb to an emerald, but usually in a smaller tank where, you know, they really should be in something bigger. So they serve a great purpose, but just don't put in a lot of emeralds if you don't actually need them.
I've heard too, is it hit or miss on the bubble algae? Can you sometimes put an emerald in and they won't touch it?
Yes, I've always found that male emerald crabs do it better than females. I think it's something to do with like their pinchers. So, you know, I've always, if you've got an actual bubble algae problem, is to try and put males in there. Try not to go overly big. Like I said, they can be somewhat opportunistic. And it really depends on each individual one. Like you can have a huge male emerald crab and they might not mess with a single fish or a single coral or anything. And then you might have one that just kind of goes rogue and causes a little bit of problems. So they're great. I keep them in most of our larger tanks, but in a small quantity.
Cool.
Yeah. So those are your main crabs. There's some cool decorative crabs out there, but as far as like efficient, those are probably your best batches. Just some hermits, emerald crab if you need them.
Cool.
Yeah. And then shrimp. Can't forget them.
My favorite.
Yes.
I love the shrimp that you put in the tank.
And they're not just decorative.
Right.
So shrimp are beautiful. I think add them to any tank because they are a lot of fun to watch. Their personality is really cool. But you know, there's certain ones do have certain functions. Peppermint shrimp, probably the most like utility of them because they eat aptasia.
Yeah.
And not much does. And aptasia can become a real problem. Manually killing it can be kind of difficult. Tends to always kind of come back. Can't always get to the ones behind the rock.
Especially in a larger tank, very difficult.
In a larger tank, it's very difficult because they're going to be in little crevices and places you can't see, and they just like to reproduce. And when they get out of control, they can become a major problem. So peppermint shrimp naturally eat them. Better to put them in groups because they tend to be like nighttime hunters, but in packs almost. So as long as it's not too small of a tank, usually put in at least 3. And then they're going to naturally eradicate. If they don't have aptasia and stuff, make sure they're getting fish food and they're fed.
Right.
And they'll just kind of scavenge around the tank too. But they're really good for aptasia control.
Cool. Cleaner shrimp. This is one of my favorite.
Yes, yes. Usually,
Kids love them.
I'm pretty sure people buy a cleaner shrimp for the most part because they see it in a store. It's Jock from Finding Nemo. And just for the fact that they're really, really pretty. But they're actually going to, for the most part, they'll set up like a little cleaning station. Like right here, this guy, he's on the underhang of a rock. If a fish wants to be cleaned, it comes up to him and allows them to kind of jump on, and it cleans up parasites, dead scales, like all that excess stuff on them, and kind of cleans them up. So they're extremely efficient at just naturally keeping like parasites in check that you may not even see, or just helping keep the fish healthy. If you put your hand in, it's one of my favorite things. If you got
That's
like a shrimp or two.
My kids love that. They think it's hilarious.
Yeah, you put your hand in, and once they're gotten used to and they've been in the tank for a while, you find them, they'll come up to you. And the peppermints will do this too.
Climb all over your arm.
And they climb all over you, and they're like picking.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cleaning your hand and stuff too. So they become very social, very active, but they're really useful for your fish.
What's really cool about the peppermint shrimp, and I've heard mixed reviews on this. So like say you have like a predator tank or something like that, or you just have a predator in your reef tank or whatever. They'll actually go like into like an eel, for instance, will open its mouth and
the cleaner shrimp,
It won't be dinner. They actually know that they serve that purpose. They'll open their mouth and let them actually clean up their mouth.
They're utility inverts. So out on the natural reefs and stuff, you'll see shrimp have cleaning stations, and there's huge groupers with their mouth wide open, or eels, and you just see shrimp are in there cleaning little teeth and just picking stuff out. It's pretty crazy to see. If you do it in a home aquarium, you can definitely have them in a predator tank. But the key, I would say, is the predators better be well fed, or put the shrimp in first.
Okay.
A lot of times, if you have established like predator groupers, puffers, and stuff like that, and like you just put in a new shrimp, they're not really going to think about this shrimp might take care of them and clean them. It seems to be like an instant food reaction. So try to have them added in first. If you add them in while stuff is in there, put them into the rock where the fish do not see them. And then, usually they'll set up station and kind of go from there. But just don't drop a new shrimp in with your groupers and your puffers and your eels.
You might have a momentary lapse of thinking it's just a regular shrimp.
Oh, yeah. And then you're like $30, $40 cleaner shrimp just went as an expensive meal. But if you set it up right, you can have a predator tank that actually has cleaner shrimp that are like coexisting with these big, aggressive fish.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
So again, you guys, I want to encourage you to put your questions below if you have questions about cleanup crews, our aquariums, whatever. We do have a link in the description to the video that is the top 10 inverts for your marine aquarium. So make sure you check that out after the stream. It's a pretty cool video.
Yep, there's a little bit more in depth about each one. And then we also are giving away 2 shirts. So that's going to be people are active and engaging. So we'll do that after we do some questions and all of that. And then they're going to be pulling questions. There we go.
Paul says, any cleaners for freshwater? I just literally was talking to Jess about that.
Conversation. We're just talking about that. So keep an eye. We have a lot of freshwater videos coming to the YouTube channel that we'll be doing on freshwater cleaners, fish, all kinds of freshwater topics. We're diving in deep into the freshwater side. So we've got a lot of new stuff coming with that. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe and get the notifications on YouTube because you'll see whenever new videos are posted, and that is one that's probably coming up soon. So definitely a lot more freshwater coming your way.
For sure. I'm looking forward to it. I just posted a video of that clear 4820 over there.
I know, it's looking good.
Jay says on the freshwater side, I've found more freshwater. I found that Florida flagfish are great algae combatants. They even attack hair algae and great motivators for other cleanup.
Yeah, they've heard that there are, I mean, there's definitely some fish that can be good cleaners. I think I've heard of the Florida flagfish being one. I don't know if that's a common one you're going to find available, though. But yeah, I mean, any fish or crab or anything that is helping to clean your tank is a big benefit because, you know, you need all that natural cleaners to keep that pristine looking problem before you end up with algae problems.
Yeah. John says, sometimes my trochus snails die, other times my turbos don't last. There is plenty to eat, I think. What's up with this?
Your cleanup crew will have to be replaced. It's one of those things. Snails and crabs are not forever lived. There's just things that happen. It can be being attacked by other inverts. You know, snails can be very vulnerable to crabs and stuff. Turbos, even though you have stuff to eat, it might not be enough because turbos really need larger types of algae, not just film algae around the tank. And they're big snail, they need a lot of it. So if you don't have hair algae and your tank's pretty clean, it's just normal green algae and biofilm and stuff like that, turbos probably not your best bet. They're not going to live forever. And I always say, like, every 2 or 3 months, do a check on your tank, see if you've got any algae popping up, if your numbers have declined. If your numbers are declining and your algae and your tank is staying clean, then you just had too many to begin with.
Cool.
That was the next question here. I'm gonna throw it up there.
Yannick says, is there a way to avoid having the hermit crabs or hermit crab to eat the shells?
So, go with less aggressive types. I think red legs are more peaceful than blue legs, but blue legs can possibly eat cyano, so they do have a purpose. But I go with like Mexican red tip, red leg hermits for the most part if you can, because I feel that they're a little more docile and more strictly herbivore. If a snail's upside down, or if a snail's not doing well, it's fair game. I mean, it's just completely, you can't train them not to go on their natural instincts and go eat this vulnerable creature. You know, and also making sure your snails are really healthy. You don't have too many of them to where they're kind of weak and slowly dying off will help that too. And provide extra shells for your hermit crabs. Plenty of them. So they have lots of choices of places to move. If they see your snail and they're like, that's the shell I want, and they have 5 other shells in front of them, they might just take them down for it. It's just kind of how it goes. It's a rough world to be an invert, but you can't completely avoid it, but you can kind of do a few things to lessen the amount that it happens.
Yeah, and maybe an aquarium, but they're still gonna follow their instincts.
Natural instincts,
survival.
man. Yep.
Ruben says, what about Mexican snails? They are colorful and turn themselves back over.
Mexican snails, the only Mexican I know would be the Mexican turbos.
Yeah.
Colorful, I don't know if turbos are necessarily colorful. There's a couple like chestnut turbos that have like an orange color. Zebra turbos kind of have the striping on them. Regular turbos are kind of anywhere from like a brown to a tan to like a light orangey. Most turbos, so not impossible for a turbo to turn themselves over, but the majority of the time is they cannot. So if they fall right next to something, they can usually kind of reach out and grab it. But if they just fall in the middle of the sand upside down, there's not much hope for them.
Fish Pony says, my cleaner shrimp lives with a peacock mantis shrimp. They are best friends.
Aw, that's so cute. That's an unusual one. Yeah, usually the mantis is like, thank you, dinner.
Yeah.
Like they don't care about nobody.
He must not be very hungry. He's
yeah, it must be well fed. I've never heard of that.
Ray says, any efficient way to remove bryopsis without chemicals?
Not really.
Magnesium really is the...
Yeah, I mean, you can jack your magnesium up pretty high. There's like chemicals and stuff out there. On occasion, you might find something like a fox face that might nibble on it, but like eradicating it, it's really difficult. Another one is like urchins that can kind of scrape the whole layer off of your rock. They'll take the coral line and everything with it because bryopsis digs its little fine roots in like really hard. So like you prune it and it doesn't matter because those little tiny roots are still there. If you can get it shortened and kind of under control, chemical along with possibly like urchins and a foxface, possibly.
When he says
It's
chemical,
tough.
maybe is he talking about magnesium? Maybe that's the only
Might
way
be.
that I've seen, which you can look it up. I don't know much about it, but there's a way of raising your magnesium. I think with a specific type of magnesium, maybe.
I think you have to get it to a very high level. I think it's like 16 plus 100,
yeah.
which can have its own issues with your aquarium. And I want to say, people have used like aggressive things like, calcwaster because it's so acidic and like covering it. There might be some products out there that claim to eradicate it. I know it can be a little bit more problematic for sure.
How does that usually get into a system?
Hitchhike, little spores into something, or if you, and I find that to be a lot of the reason why I like aquacultured rock, like CaribSea, is if you bring in live rock from the ocean, you have all kinds of stuff that could come with it.
Yeah.
Bryopsis, all kinds of algae, pests, mantis shrimp, stuff like that. So using clean rock and knowing kind of what's coming into your tank will help.
Nero says, when will the 350.7 Reef LX be ready to purchase? Unfortunately, never, because it's a 340.7. But
Damn!
the 340.7 should be, we should probably start taking, Keenan might yell at me for this.
He's like, how should I
Soon,
word
I'm going
this?
to say within the next 30 to 60 days, we'll probably start opening orders on them. It's probably a bit longer than that. We're probably looking at maybe May or June until they start shipping.
Okay.
So longer than we would like, but
Worth the wait.
Yeah, it's worth the wait. Trust me.
Big old
Definitely.
7-foot tank, you will love it.
Yeah. Frank says, what cleanup crews are not good match for tanks with corals?
There's a lot of crabs that are extremely aggressive or get too big. You've got certain starfish, like chalk tip starfish, that will eat coral. You've got, I think crabs are going to be your main one. There are a couple types of snails that are known to eat coral, but I would really just keep an eye out on crabs. There's a lot of big aggressive crabs out there that dorsal cell because they're really pretty, but they're going to be not necessarily meaning to eat the coral, but they're very carnivorous and they kind of pick at different stuff, and they're also going to be dangerous for other stuff. But chocolate chip starfish and some other short-legged stars are not safe for coral.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cajun Reefer says, what ratio of snails, hermits, cleanup crew for different size tanks, how many per gallon?
The rule does not work. So if you buy these cleaner packs and they're like, you need 1 snail per 2 gallons and you need 1 hermit crab per 2 gallons, like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and that's how you end up putting in too many inverts and then a ton of them die off, is every tank is different. You got to base it upon what your needs are. How good is your water quality? How good is your equipment? What is your lighting schedule? What are your parameters? And that's going to determine how much algae and what kind of algae you have.
I just saw someone comment a little bit ago that their tank is so clean that they actually have to supplement for their inverts because of that, which
It's true.
will cause them to die. Just like that question, maybe his tank was too
It
clean.
is. So you really have to, and I say when you start your tank, put in a small number to start. And then, what that small number, it kind of depends. A couple snails, a couple crabs for medium-sized tank. Gauge it. All right, I got a little bit extra green algae growing. Let me get a couple more and see where that goes. And don't go and put 100 hermit crabs and 100 snails in your tank right away.
Especially
because
not
you're
on a
going to
new
be
tank.
down to 20 of each. In no time, you're going to have excess nutrients from the die-off. It does depend a lot on husbandry. So RLX, it's a big 7-foot tank. And just because of husbandry and stuff, like for the rocks, I think we've got like 5 or 6 trochus and like 3 or 4 turbos in there.
Yeah.
And that's all the snails that are in there because that's all we need. Any of the extra that we had in there, they've kind of just died off on their own because there's not the food source. If I had a ton more algae, I could probably have triple that number of stuff.
Yeah.
And then your sand will depend on flow, nutrients, and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I wish there was an exact answer, but gauge it what your tank needs.
Peter Keefe says, thoughts of bristleworms, aren't they basically a cleanup crew? I can tell you that bristleworms freak me out.
But they're amazing.
They do. There's no other way around it.
Don't pet them. No, bristleworm spikes hurt when they get in your finger. So bristleworms, a fantastic cleanup crew. They do so much work behind the scenes inside the rock that no one else could get into.
Keenan, I wish you could you pull up a picture of bristleworms?
Yeah, creepy, like prehistoric, like nightmare movie kind of stuff. But They're amazing. Problem run into, if you have a lot of bristle worms, your tank is dirty. And you need to look at the husbandry and the feeding and stuff like that, because their population should stay pretty minimal because there isn't a ton of excess nutrients. If you're moving rocks or you're at nighttime, you see them crawling out of your rocks, you need to look at water quality, detritus, flow, that kind of stuff. And the only harm to them really is the fact that if you're moving stuff around in your tank and you have a lot of them and you get stung by one, ouch, it hurts. Little tip though, if you do get stung by a bristle worm, take a piece of tape, cover it, and do that a few times to help pull the bristles out, because they have these tiny little, and it just looks like a big, like a fur on your finger. Gonna hurt, but the tape helps actually pull it out.
Are you not dealing with an aquarium bristle worm, or you can tell me? Switch it over.
Is it a bristle worm? Yes.
Yeah. Some of those are fireworms, but yeah. So all those little white hairs you see are spikes that want to get you.
Like this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be a fireworm with just how much it has, but same concept. These guys
The one on the left, I think, is
are really, really good cleaners. Don't touch them. If you have a ton of them, your tank's too dirty.
Yeah.
But some people are just like if they
I've
see them,
I've cleaned out some tanks in the past that were full of them.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just wigs me out.
Once you get one in your finger, you're like, I don't really like you, even though you're a good cleanup crew. But yeah, don't pull them out unless you have a lot. You're gonna have nightmares now.
I don't look at them too much.
Yeah.
What else we got? David says, I've not had great success with emerald crabs. Ones I've had didn't eat bubble algae, and I decided to take out my Stylophora instead.
Yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily say that every tank needs them, but they do have a good use for them. And they're not automatically going to eat bubble algae. They usually do a great job at it, but they may not all. And yeah, some of them are going to be opportunistic. But they're big crabs. So if they're not getting any fish food and they're not getting any algae, they're going to find something to eat.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a snail, it can be a fish, it can be a coral. And a lot of times they aren't necessarily eating a coral, but say if you have a dead spot, you lost a couple polyps on your Stylophora, and a little bit of patch of algae grew there because it's a skeleton. They go up there and like, oh, here's algae, and they just start grabbing at it. They can cause damage to the coral.
Ruben's asking, what about blood shrimp? What role do they play in a reef? I was actually going to bring that up earlier, the blood shrimp.
They are technically cleaners as well, but they tend to be a lot more shy. So they're not going to be as active cleaners of your fish tank as an actual cleaner skunk shrimp will be. But you can find them cleaning off fish, just not as proactively as a cleaner shrimp. But they are pretty.
They are striking.
They are so pretty. It's probably the most beautiful shrimp you can probably have in a reef tank is a blood shrimp. Yeah. So if nothing else, get them for the looks because it's worth it.
One more question.
One more question. And again, you guys, thank you all for the questions and being here. We're going to give away some shirts here in a minute after this last question. If you haven't already, punch the like button.
Be aggressive.
Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We are here every week. Jay says, so on the topic of cleanup crews, scuds come to mind as well. How do we prevent or destroy? Just keep a lot of nanos around the crew.
Around them as they arrive.
What are scuds?
I was wondering the same thing. I thought it was me.
Sometimes I can't filter.
You Google it? Is it a thing? I don't know. Maybe it's just a different word for something I don't know.
Jay, is it scuds or is it something else?
Oh, there you go. I will go ahead and...
Are we learning something new today?
I know.
Oh, switch the bow, yeah.
Get you some scuds.
Guessing these things?
Are those just copepods? Anthropods? Scuds. I'm confused. Okay.
To be determined.
To be determined. I'm waiting to see if he answers.
Is this the first time we were stumped?
I just never heard of scuds before. But maybe that.
Oh, it's a freshwater thing, he says.
Oh.
Sorry, a freshwater thing.
Oh. I don't know, man.
We'll
I'm going
revisit.
to learn about that, though, and I
Yeah.
will make sure on a future video that I do talk about scuds.
Cool.
Thank you, though. I love learning new
Yeah, we'll make
things
sure
because
that-
it's very difficult. I don't come across too much, and you got me on that one.
We should start a new segment, Stump Jess.
Dude! Oh man, I would not feel smart. I like feeling smart, but no.
I like the whole Google thing though, Keenan. We need to integrate
Yeah.
that more. When we do
Yeah.
questions.
Rights, copyright things later.
Yeah, it's Google.
All right, I'm gonna look into scuds. I'm gonna put that on my to-do for today. So I'm gonna learn what they are and what to do about them. And I'll definitely make sure on future videos or episodes we talk about them.
Look at these guys are dropping knowledges in the comments. They're making friends. SC says they eat decaying plant matter.
Well, that's good though. That'll be a good thing.
Get you some scuds, man.
Get some scuds. It's probably like bristle worms. If you have too many of them, it means you've got too much waste in the tank.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just completely guessing here because I don't know what scuds are in freshwater. But man, they got me. All right.
I'm staring at the comments to like see what else I can learn.
He's very excited he could stump the crew. So.
Well, you guys, we appreciate all these questions. Again, join us every week because we're doing this. We're taking your questions every week. We're bringing in some cool topics.
Fish topics,
Yeah.
inverts, fresh and salt. So I think it's good to just kind
We're gonna
of.
Google things that we don't know with you.
We should have a Google with Waterbox episode and be like, see how many things we can figure out for ourselves here. All right, we're gonna give away some shirts though.
Let's do it.
All right, we got 2
Ready?
shirts to give away. What up?
All Roy and Yogi Bear. Congratulations, you guys. Email winners@waterboxaquariums.com. They'll get you hooked up with those fresh new tees, which are super comfortable.
I
They
think
come in multiple colors now, too, by the way.
Jay Nakayama. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I said that wrong. I'm really bad with names. I'm gonna give you a shirt too. So just email
There you go.
winners. Email winners and we'll get you a shirt as well. Just for fun here.
Yeah, just for stumping us on
Just for
that one.
stumping us and being a good sport.
I'm trying to get stomped every week.
Hey, this is not a thing. Don't come here trying to like not know stuff.
We're going to get some scuds.
We're gonna go find some scuds.
I really enjoy that word.
Speaking of
Scuds.
freshwater, that's our topic next week.
Is it?
So we'll be here. Is it? It is. We're going to talk about good fish choices for your planted aquarium next week. Cool. So giving them some freshwater love. Like I said, we have a lot more freshwater going on, which is very exciting. So
I'm very excited about it. If you guys check out, me and Jess are both on Instagram. I don't think we put that up
we
there.
need to start putting that in the beginning again, guys. Instagram handles. Hey, there it is.
Me and Jess are both on Instagram, Rich_Waterbox, Jess_Waterbox. Check
Posting
us
stuff
out.
around the studio and that kind of stuff. So Rich just did a video or picture.
Both.
On the Clear 4820 that's here at the studio. Nice planted, low tech. It's coming along really, really nice. We have another freshwater build in the works that you'll see dropping on YouTube before long.
Yep.
So, definitely love to hear other freshwater stuff that people would like to see.
Yeah.
So it's, we've done saltwater for so long. It's nice to finally start breaking into the freshwater side, give that some love because it's such a great side of the hobby.
Yeah, I love it. I'm really, really excited. I feel like it's been too long. We're finally going to jump into
Yes.
it. If you guys are in the market for a Waterbox aquarium, head over to waterboxaquariums.com. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell.
And we're here next week at probably 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 12. Talking about some freshwater stuff.
We'll see you guys
See you
next
then.
week. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Remember, you can visit us online at waterboxaquariums.com.
We're live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching. See you next week.